And I'm Heather Branch here with Abe asking for his ideas on what you can be working on now as you get closer to retirement. Want to make sure that you've got the right plan in place that's going to help you reach those goals. And you can begin that conversation getting to work on a plan with Abe and his team. Find us at theretirementkey.com. We also have links posted in the show notes, or again, it's theretirementkey.com. So it's summertime. Days are lazy. Days are long and lazy, mostly because it's too hot to move.
Mm-hmm.
It's too hot to move outside, Abe. But thinking about summertime in years past, how many times, especially, I know you hear it a lot, just talking with folks in the office, because it's a lot of reminiscing happens in retirement planning. Things just aren't what they used to be anymore.
I know.
That is a real feeling that so many of us feel with the chaos and the speed of life now. So when it comes to how retirement planning has changed, that's a big, big subject matter that I want to address. And I wanted to ask you that question about how things have changed and how we can do better about adapting with the change and keeping up with all the changes. Because there's a lot to keep up with, Abe.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you come in. So I want to ask you about that in just a few minutes. But first, let's talk markets, shall we?
Let's do it.
Because the conversation around the market continues to be confusing. It's very, very high. How high can we go before we see the downturn? However, only a few companies apparently are holding up these high numbers. So it's one of the biggest questions asked on financial news networks lately. How high can they go before we take a downturn? And here is investment officer Sylvia Yablonsky on CNBC, and she had this to say.
So I think we're due for a pullback. The markets are really melting up, but pullbacks are also opportunities to come into the market. You have 6 trillion sitting on the sidelines or sitting in those 5% money markets. The market's doing a lot better than that this year, 17% on SPX, over 20% on NASDAQ. So I think pullbacks are only a good thing if you have cash on the sidelines. And if you're in it for the long run, just don't look at your account for those couple of days, stay the course. I think a pullback is healthy at this stage.
Okay. She said something very important there. She said, if you're in it for the long run, which is, of course, as investors as we are.
Sure.
However, while a pullback might be healthy for the market, there is nothing that feels healthy about losing money when you're in retirement. So thinking about your clients and how do we balance out risk and keeping some loss and creating that balance within our portfolios? How does that conversation go?
Well, you always need to stay invested. You need to focus on a long-term plan, Heather, and the markets go up, they go down. I would say avoiding large loss is one of the biggest things that most people can do, including most of our clients, that they can do right before retirement or leading into retirement is avoiding large loss. What's a large loss, you might ask? Typically a negative 20% in our opinions or greater. If you think about some of those years that can just destroy a portfolio, especially as you're transitioning into retirement or in retirement, that'd be a 2008. Even a 2022, if you were retired and you lost 15 to 20%, which is what most people did lose that year, and you were withdrawing at the same time. Go back to the tech bubble, 2000, 2001, 2002. The S&P, those 3 years were down negative 46%, September 11th, right in the middle. It took 5 years to recover those losses. It took 5 years to recover 2008's losses. Do you have 5 to 10 years to make up losses in retirement? No, most people don't. Most people do not have room to have another lost decade in retirement. So we're going to have ups and downs. We need to be invested in the market. Most of us, we need to have typically more money in the markets than not to keep up with inflation and all the things we want to do in retirement. So we're going to have ups and downs. The markets have hit all-time historic market highs this year in 2024, over 30 times. So the lady is right that we are probably going to see a correction and pullback. But to be honest, I don't know that at Abich Financial we see any huge volatility in the near term. I mean, we're looking at a rate cut probably in September.
Right.
And inflation is supposed to continue to come down in between 2 and 3% heading into 2025. If it does, we're probably going to see more rate cuts, and the markets love that, right? And the markets have priced in already these rate cuts. What could send the markets falling, I think, is a number of things, but also if these rate cuts did not happen and rates stayed as high as they are now or increased, certainly the markets would not like that.
Right.
But we do not see a lot of short-term volatility. We see more of this Goldilocks market heading into the balance of 2024 and potentially 2025. But you need to have a plan in place to protect your downside when the markets turn around. Speaking of that, we just had a couple come in from Woodbridge, Virginia, $2.5 million saved, worked for the government a long time, former military, early 60s, retiring in 2 years, just 24 months away from full retirement. And although they've known how to save and accumulate $2.5 million, they don't know what they don't know. And the gentleman flat out told me, he said, you know what, Abe, Google can only get me so far. Google, searching the internet, can only get me so far.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put my ego aside, here a little bit, if you will. I know I've been a good saver. $2.5 million put away. I'm going to save more money over the next 2 years, should we, unless we have a huge market downturn. But I want to know what I don't know. And I'm concerned about taxes. I'm concerned about income, concerned about having this money be here for my wife and I in our later years. We're concerned about health care. We have no long-term care. We don't know how much income to take out. We don't know if we have an income gap or shortfall, and all these things that are kind of away from and different than simply socking money away in a TSP or 401k and growing it, right? Yeah. It's one thing to be able to grow your money, especially when the markets are at all-time highs. Just stick it in the market, forget about it, keep opening up your statements, and the market will go up.
It's easy when everything's good. Yeah.
When everything's good. But we want to get out in front of that, right? And they know, markets are going to turn around at some point, and they want a plan in place to kind of lock in a lot of this gain, like take some chips off the table.
Sure.
And so what we found out as we did their portfolio x-ray on the TSP, 401k, and IRA dollars is that this couple wants to be a 7 on our risk scale, right? That's 70% market-based monies, 30% out of the market base instruments, but they're invested as if they're a 9.8, 98% in stocks. In other words, that's very high.
Yeah.
Very high. 24 months away till full retirement. Want to be around a 7. We also dug in under the cover, under the hood there with their investments, and found out that their investments are costing them about 40 basis points or 40% of 1%, which is a little high. So we are able to show them how we can get that cost down by using low-cost ETFs.
Nice.
And so the solution for them was that investment x-ray, portfolio x-ray under the hood on all their investments to find out how they were invested, right? You shouldn't be making any financial decisions unless you know what you currently have. What are the pros and cons? We found out the costs. We found out the risk. And so the solution was for them to actually move forward with the recommendations that are being made, because they're like, yeah, we figured we were taking on more risk. We didn't know about the cost. We know we need a more comprehensive plan. We know we need a plan to help us transition into retirement, not just to grow our money.
Right.
That was all discovered under a portfolio x-ray and analysis of their TSP, 401k, and IRAs. Uncover what you don't know. As a gentleman said, we should quote it, Google can only get you so far.
Yeah.
And Google and the internet can get you a long ways, but it's nothing like sitting down with a person in real life.
That's right.
Going over your situation. So if you sound like this couple from Woodbridge, Virginia, and you say, you know what, Abe, I'm a do-it-yourself successful investor as well. And I've saved several $1 million on my own, but like the gentleman said, I don't know what I don't know. I've Googled a lot of things. It's gotten me here, but I have a lot of questions that are unanswered, and I'm concerned about risk and taxes and income and RMDs and healthcare and all these things that a retirement planning firm helps you with. Go to the retirementkey.com. That's our website. Click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to give you this analysis on your portfolio and life savings as well.
We also have links posted in the show notes. You can just click there, or again, go to the retirementkey.com. So one of, I think, everybody's favorite pastimes, reminiscing about the good times and days gone by. Some of us have some gripes, though. Some of us might say things just aren't how they used to be. That could actually be a good thing, though. Just reflecting back on some of the old things and the way things were that we had to tolerate in life's past. Remember when you used to connect on the internet and you'd hear the dial-up that you got mail? You could, but you couldn't be on the phone. Do you remember? You could not be on the kids these days. I don't know. You could not be on the phone the same time you were on the internet.
And you were all happy when that startup, dial-up modem from AOL connected.
When it connected, it was the best feeling ever.
Yeah, it'd make a funny sound in the background. But yeah, you could not be on the phone or the internet at the same time. It was one or the other. So you take the phone call or drop the phone call and then get on the internet.
That's it.
How about when you got gas? I mean, the attendants would help you. You didn't have to get out of your car. They'd clean your windshield.
They would check your oil.
And now you got to do it all on your own. And
got to do it by yourself. DIY.
How about smoking cigarettes on airplanes? That was allowed.
I can't believe that was ever allowed.
Yeah, back in the day, apparently it was a normal thing to just smoke cigarettes in your house. When they first kind of came around and or became popular, what was that? 50s, 60s, maybe 40s to 60s.
Right.
It was a normal thing.
Or
Right.
remember when you would walk into a restaurant, the first thing they would ask you, smoking or non?
And then I think it was normal, if you were driving in unfamiliar territory, just get out the gas station, stop and ask for directions. But you might want to be careful, depending on where you're at, to do that now. And instead, we can just hop right onto Google Maps, right?
It's so convenient until you drop out, until you're not in a dead zone. We've become way too dependent on these little devices here, Abe.
Yeah.
When you're in a dead zone, you better hope you have a map book in your car someplace.
Especially us men. We're kind of stubborn and like to figure things out on our own without asking for help.
At least you admit it. Make note. Shelly Abich, if you're listening, your husband is one of the good ones that will admit it.
So retirement isn't used to what it was either in the past, and people are living a lot longer. Look, Ida Mae Fuller was the first person ever to receive a Social Security check. People were passing away back then in the 1930s, like at 65. That was long life. People are now living into their 90s.
Yeah,
I believe 1 in every 2 babies born today is going to live past 100. If you're in your 60s, a lot of people listening to WMAL are and married. 1 in 2 of you will live into your 90s. It's just the stat. And so people are living a lot longer, and there's many things that are different about retirement now than the past. Pensions, right? Pensions are a thing of the past, and they were pretty much everyone's retirement.
That's right.
Back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So we just had a lady call into the show, come into the office from Sterling, Virginia, 1.5 million saved, a 4 risk on our risk scale, just conservative investor, single, divorced, female, healthy, 62, concerned about living long, concerned about outliving her money, concerned about what she doesn't know, right? She got to 1.5 million. It's going to be enough money for her, is what we found out, but concerned about all the risks that can mess up her retirement. And she's about to retire here at 65, could have 30 years in front of her. That's kind of daunting. All right, I want to retire. I'm healthy. I want to enjoy my retirement, but I'm going to fully pull the trigger here, retire, stop working, and maybe I have another 30 years in front of me. That's really concerning for a lot of people, and it was for her. And so that was the main reason why she came in, concerned about running out of money, concerned about all the things that really a lot of women have to deal with in retirement, healthcare especially, living long. Women live longer than men on average. The longer you live, the greater is the chance that you'll need healthcare, right? One of my grandmothers, my dad's mom, lived to be almost 96. From 90 to 96, she needed health care in the home for that 5.5 to 6 years. Wow. From the top floor of the home down to the middle floor, from part-time to full-time care, from full-time care to nurses 24/7 to in and out of the hospital. Wow. And so we at Abich Financial get the concerns of women in retirement. They are different needs that women need met than men in retirement.
Right.
Retirement roadmap. That was all of this was discovered as this lady came in from Sterling for a retirement roadmap. This helped her to see where she is going. What are the obstacles ahead of her, in front of her, things she needs to plan for as a single divorced female, living long, health care, creating income, protecting her life savings from the risks that can mess it up. So if you sound like this lady from Sterling, Virginia, and you say, you know what, Abe, I've done things on my own, or I've been working with an advisor at phase 1, accumulation based advisor. I need help with all these other things you're talking about. Go to theretirementkey.com. Click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and we can begin to give you the same retirement roadmap, retirement income plan for you as well.
We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there if that's more convenient. Or again, find us anytime at theretirementkey.com.